Welcome back to another episode of Silent Pals Go to the Movies. I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hi, everyone.
So today we're going to be reviewing the movie Onward. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. Set in the suburb fantasy world, two teenage elf brothers embark on a quest to discover if there's still magic out there. So I'm going to start my review by going down my pros and cons like I always do. I'm going to start off by saying that this is the first Pixar movie that I've seen that does not have a Pixar short before it. It has a Simpsons short, which is titled Playdate with Destiny, and it caught me off guard. I did not expect that, but it's a silent short, so that means there's no talking. We see the Simpsons characters, and it kind of does bring it to life that Disney does own the Simpsons because they own Fox, and Fox owns the Simpsons. But now let's move on to the movie Onward. My pros is that I really enjoyed the message about that. What a real father figure is. It doesn't really necessarily mean that it has to be your biological father. In this movie, we saw the teenager Ian basically never met his father. His father died because of an illness. But then we do see the brother Barley, who did meet his father, and he tells his younger brother about him. The younger brother, Ian, feels that he wants to meet his father really desperately. The whole message at the end is that he's always had a father figure with him, or had a father type by his side, and that's his older brother. So this whole thing of a family-oriented story kind of, I really enjoyed that message. Also, the idea that the movie deals with the loss of a family member or loved one, but it also has a message that everybody in the family could continue on. We see the mother, she has a boyfriend in the movie, and the teenagers are okay with it, but sometimes they think it's weird, which is a common thing. No one can replace somebody in your family, but they can just try to adapt to the family situation. Next thing, the animation was really well done according to me. I really enjoyed this type of modeling they did. It really flowed well, especially with the magic element into it and the fantasy world. It really captivated me in a sense that after the movie, I wanted to play D&D. It's like one of those movies that when you get out, you want to venture into the theme of D&D. The voice actors were amazing. We have Christian Pratt, Tom Holland, which I never thought that this combo would be really great, but after I saw the movie, it does seem like it's a good fit. There's nothing awkward about it. It kind of flowed. It's really a tone movie that fit with the voice and the animation together. Also, Pixar knows how to bring the tears. They know how to bring the onion cutting ninjas into the movie theaters. This movie was filled at the end with feels. Not to say that I cried, but it just basically got people emotional around me, and I did feel like, oh, this is one of those moments where, I can see a tear roll down my cheek. It's an emotional scene. The whole elements of the movie was really well put together. Now going on to my cons. This is where I get a little picky. I did have a question. Did the dad have to fight the same monster to obtain the Phoenix Gem just as the sons did? And if he did, didn't he have to get the map from the Manticore? And my thing is, wouldn't the Manticore know about the father? This is a kind of a thing like everything needs to be tied together. I understand that, but for me, it would have been better if the Manticore that we saw in the movie is not the real Manticore from back in the days when magic used to rule. She's probably a descendant of the original Manticore, and that's why she took over the tavern and she made it into a restaurant and she lost touch, and then she lost her way. Then this is basically touching back on the thing of like we should touch back into our roots with our ancestors. That would have made more sense because Barley's always talking about back in the day when magic used to rule. So for me, that would have been a better fit in the movie for the storyline if we would say back in the day when magic used to rule, these were the people who were involved. Now we're in the future and these are the descendants. Maybe Ian's dad descended from a really powerful wizard. They could have added that and I would have been okay with it instead of this, like, wait, if this all happened pretty close to each other and this is the real Manticore, what's the deal? Did she forget about everything? Did everybody in the world forget about the magic? It's these little details that I had to pick at. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to my friend Touly and see how he saw this movie and what grade he gave it.
So as Sal already mentioned, I do also agree that the film does a great job in terms of telling a story that revolves around the family theme and the whole brotherly relationship that I was really on board with because I myself have a brother as well and I am the older one of the two. So I can relate to a lot of the stuff that was transpiring throughout the film. Yeah, but even beyond that, for the older brother, and I see myself in this sort of role too for my siblings, being sort of like that fatherly like figure, if anything, being sort of like that role model model that they can look up to or depend on at times. Just seeing those sort of things manifest itself into this film, even when it led to the end when Ian didn't really get that much of an opportunity to talk to his father, like his biological father in that sense, but you did get to see Barley conversate with the father. It just got me thinking maybe that was like a way of passing down the torch in a way, so that Barley, I wouldn't say had not already accepted the role of being in that sort of a fatherly sort of figure, but maybe to have received even a little bit more of like wisdom from his dad and to look after his brother. I just really love the message that this film delivered. The pacing I thought was great. The movie was about an hour and 40 minutes long, which is typical of like a Pixar film where almost scene to scene, what you saw contributed to the overall story or the build-up that they were leading up to. I did get the vibe of this Dungeons and Dragons sort of feel. It added that sort of a lore to it that I gravitated towards. This idea of going on like a grand adventure and encountering the unknown, but having this go, and I guess in this case, for them to go and retrieve this Phoenix gem to bring back their father. Although I did find the premise a little weird though, because of the blunder that led the father not to be fully reincarnated. Again, it was of course accidental and it led to what it was. In terms of just getting to know more about the father along the way, well, I sort of want to attribute that to maybe a con to the film, because not being able to hear him speak, of course, given the circumstance, you kind of lose that side of the father's personality. A lot of it is left for assumption, just based on the sort of actions that you can see in front of you, based on that type of a physical appearance. So maybe that's something that I'm not sure if they could have gone about that a different way, given that they wanted to tell a story where you only got half of a father figure there, and unfortunately in this case you get like the bottom half where you don't really get to see like facial expressions or hear them talk or what have you. So I mean, I say it's a con, but I feel like as an audience member that was something that I lost out on though, so I just wanted to point that out. And I guess the other thing that I wouldn't say that it's also necessarily a con, but it was like their roundabout way as to they got the Phoenix gem at the end, where it led them back to their hometown. And maybe this was just part of my expectations, where I thought really they were going to go on this really grand adventure, and they were going to get led to like this dungeon or cavern or something way out there, and then they deal with whatever they had to deal with and retrieve the Phoenix gem. But yeah, everything led back to their hometown. I don't know, again, maybe it was my expectations that maybe sort of led me down that road, where I was expecting the grand adventure of them all here and castles or whatnot, but it didn't really lead that way. And I guess that's why also I sympathize for Ian when he reacted strongly when he realized that they kind of went in a circle. In that moment, I felt a little frustration, just as Ian did, but I suppose if that was the goal of the film, to sort of make it feel that way, then I suppose it did do its job as well. So I guess take it for what it is. And then the other characters, I don't think we talked about them as well. The mother and the Manticore, their influence on how the film progressed, I thought it was okay. I mean, they played their parts, but I think in this instance, I would have liked, for example, for the brothers to have acquired like that broadsword or whatever themselves as part of this task of theirs to go on this grand adventure, versus the mother having to play the role in that. But overall, I thought the film was good. As I already mentioned, the strongest point that I feel about this film was the emotional bond, or the bond between the brothers and the father, and I guess in essence just the family as a whole, and how that really brought out the emotional ties there at the end. And the film did a great job at that. I wouldn't necessarily say that this film was like one of my all-time favorites in terms of like a Pixar animation film. Films like Up, I would deem as being one of my favorites still, compared to Onward here. Needless to say though, I still feel like this is a film that I would recommend to people to go watch if they haven't gone to see it. And I guess in a way too, it's good to see that Pixar have gone back to sort of like maybe its roots in a way, where it tells an original tale, because I think that's what Pixar to me is really known for and do really well at telling original stories, because then as an audience member, there's not a lot of expectations in terms of knowing where this film could potentially go because of outside knowledge. That to me will always be like a plus in terms of like a Pixar animation film. But of course, the film has to be executed well as well. And I think this film did a fairly decent job at executing what it wanted to do in order to send out that sort of message that it wanted to send out. In the end, I am going to give this film a 7 out of 10. Very watchable and very recommendable. And if you haven't seen it, I would say go do so.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by going off what you said about the brotherly bond. I think that's what the movie focused more on. And the father, they didn't want to shine too much light on him. That's why they brought him halfway, the bottom part, so he wouldn't add too much dialogue and influence this bond. That's what I got out of this movie. So not to say that, people will get it, different things and they're wrong. I'm just saying that that was my point of view that I got from this movie. Yeah, the bond is there. Family bonds for sure. It was an enjoyable movie. Another fun fact for you guys is that Ian's character was based on the main character from Ratatouille, the chef, the skinny guy. So basically he is almost identical model. So I agree with Touly. Good movie. Enjoyed it. Good length. So to me, this movie was great and I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. I recommend this movie for anybody to go see. It's enjoyable for children and adults. Pixar does it once again. So with that, I guess this does it for the review of Onward. Please join us next time when we're going to review A Quiet Place 2.
I don't know why you came all the way up here.
There's nothing left. Please. There are people out there worth saving.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.